Raiders in the AFC West. The Raiders have won 5 straight for the first time since 2002 after beating the Panthers 35-32 yesterday. Derek Carr left with an injured right finger in the third quarter, but came back after missing a series and threw the go-ahead touchdown for the win. Skip, you've liked the Raiders all season.
I have.
How impressed were you by them yesterday?
I'm loving them more by the Sunday. I was extremely impressed. I'm going to say it one more time. The Oakland Raiders are going to win the AFC West. The Oakland Raiders are going to wind up in Foxborough in the AFC Championship game. I will not love their chances in Foxborough, but I will give them a chance versus Tom Brady and company where you're heading, because this team is on a magical breakthrough roll. I'll say it one more time. This team was on its way to crushing Carolina yesterday, 24-7 at halftime. What was it, the second snap of the third quarter? Mm-hmm. Derek Carr pulled out just a split second early, caught one right on the pinky finger, dislocated, fumble. Carolina goes quickly in to score. All of a sudden, we're starting to have a football game. And I'm thinking, maybe that nightmarish, not meant to be moment had just happened to the Oakland Raiders. Matt McGloin could not have gotten that game home. I do not believe. So he played one series. Cam comes right back and goes 88 yards, boom, to Ted Ginn Jr., boom. Now we really got a football game. But out of the locker room comes Derek Carr with a glove over a splinted little pinky finger on his throwing hand. And the legend of Derek Carr started to grow again. Mm-hmm. He started off a little cold through an interception, struggled for a while, and then, hey, did you see what Khalil Mack said after the game about one Derek Carr? He compared him to Kobe Bryant in mental and physical toughness. He said he has that Mambo look in his eyes, does Derek Carr. And did he ever, from that point forward, 75 yards in 10 plays, plus the 2-point conversion, tied at 32, then 82 yards in 12 plays. It sounds like Dak Prescott to me, for the winning field goal. And speaking of Khalil Mack, what happened at the end of the game? Finally, Khalil, way to go, big man. Finally, a sighting. He finally went Von Miller on Cam Newton. Second down, big pressure. Third down, big pressure. Disrupted the play. Fourth down, Von Miller Memorial strip sack, just like in the Super Bowl. Yep. Ball game, Khalil Mack rose and shone. And once again, this team is reminding me of my Dallas Cowboys. We're going to talk about them in just a minute. Just a minute. Hold on. It's coming. But they're reminding me of my Cowboys. They have suspect defense, as we all know, overshadowed by amazing, phenomenal offensive displays week after week after week. Derek Carr equals Dak Prescott. 2 young quarterbacks vying for MVP at this point. And I'm just still wondering, wouldn't you love to see that Cowboys-Raiders Super Bowl? Wouldn't that be something, Shannon Sharp? Could you live with that?
The question was, how impressed were you with the Raiders?
I just told you.
They ain't said nothing about no Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, that's how impressed I was.
You have to be very impressed.
Thank you.
Because they jumped out to the early lead, playing unbelievable offensive football, although Khalil Mack did have that pick six early in the ball game. But when you allow a team to score 25 straight points, what tends to happen is that your sideline gets completely quiet and the fans start to boo. And it can go, 7, 14, 20, like, whoa, what happened? Now all of a sudden, you were up 24-7. Now you're down. You're down 24. You're like, how did this happen? We were in complete control of this ball game. Derek Carr gets the injury, and so it's really starting to look bleak. Goes to the locker room, comes out with the Michael Jackson glove. It was black, gold, no shiny, no glitter, but we get the idea. And he played unbelievable. And as you mentioned, the legend grows like Kenny Stabler, because we've seen Kenny Stabler do some unbelievable things, rest his soul, in the silver and black. 2, the defense stepped up, Skip, because I was always concerned about their defense, and if the offense had a bad game, could they summon up something? They did. They kept Carolina close, because you thought Carolina was about to run away to get 25 straight, and you're like, okay, Derek Carr has the pinky thing. Okay, Carolina's going to win this game. They're in control of this ball game. But they bowled their back. Derek Carr comes back, gets the 2-point conversion. Now we got a 32-32 ball game. They stopped Carolina. Garrett Carr goes down the field, gets a field goal. Now it's 35-32,
Yep.
the Raiders. And everybody, the crowd's back into the ball game
Yep.
now. Yeah, here we go. Cam gets the ball now. Greg Olsen did do him a favor. He did drop the ball at the 18-yard line, Skip. He normally...
It's a little high. It would have been a very good catch.
But-
He probably, given his status and stature, he should have made the catch.
Yes.
Shannon Sharp probably makes that catch.
Yes.
I'm going to give you that one.
And when you think of him, I mean, he's played, because Gronk has been in and out of the lineup. We know when Gronk's healthy, he's the best tight end. But the way he's been playing this year, Greg Olsen and Jimmy Graham, some of these other tight ends have really elevated their level of play. So that's a play that you really expect him to make, especially on that team, because sometimes guys, your key guys have to step up because they're struggling. They had lost a game at this point last year. They're not the same team. And so for Khalil Mack, now 8 of his 9 sacks have come in the last 6 games.
I agree.
And
here we go.
And you and I both, hey, we know what kind of a talent he is, but I want to see him. I want to see him pop. I want to say, okay, that's the Khalil Mack I remember. Well, pick 6 touchdown, a sack, forced fumble recovery, game, set, match, Raiders. If they continue to play like this, because sometimes, Skip, you need breaks. You need a guy to drop the ball to give you an opportunity, and then you need your best defensive player to show why he's their best defensive player and get home, and that's what he was able to do. They can score. We know they can score, but if their defense continue to improve, they can cause some damage, but I just don't see how they go up to Foxborough and beat Foxborough, because it's going to be probably 10 degrees, maybe snow on the ground.
But you're giving them that chance, right?
Because it's sports. Because in one game, anything can happen. If they were to play a series, they're not beating the Patriots 4 out of 7. But that's the thing what people love so much about football, about college football and about pro football. Because on any given Sunday, if the Giants have to play the Patriots when they were 18-0, Skip, I don't think they beat them 4 out of 7. But for 60 minutes, with everybody's chip pushed to the middle of the table, you never know what kind of hand
you're
get.
lucky.
Did I just hear Shannon Sharp concede the AFC West to the Oakland Raiders? I think I did. I mean, that's the only way they're going to get to Foxborough is if they win the West, right?
Hold on. If they win the West, the Patriots, as we currently speak, who's the number 1 seed?
The Patriots are slightly.
But that's okay.
They got the tiebreaker, but they're both 9-2. Okay, so
Kansas City still have a lot to say about this. I would have felt a lot better had the game gone into a tie, because 7-3-1, because you got to do a lot of leapfrogging. You got to do a lot of hoping. Now the Raiders do come to Denver the last game of the season. The Broncos still have to go to Kansas City. The Raiders also have to go to Kansas City. So a lot of things can happen over the next 6 weeks. But with all that being said, I just don't see with 3 losses now, I don't see how the Broncos can leapfrog 2 teams and win this division. But hey, they're still the Denver Broncos. They still got that bondage.
5 games left.
And if Trevor Siemian, look, I know Trevor Siemian is probably not going to have 3 or 4 more games like this.
That was big time.
But if he can play close to this,
yeah, I was impressed.
This is good enough for them to win.
It is.
Let's just say 4 of their last 5 games.
It was an exciting win for the Raiders. I love that Derek Carr classic Raiders toughness, too. I don't know if I could do anything with my finger dislocated. I think I have to take a day off.
Yeah.
You'll love me. Coming up, Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins had an epic Thanksgiving shootout. But who had the better performance? Skip and Shannon debate that next.
I embrace debate. I don't make mistakes. I just make my case. I'm on and I'm on and I own my opponent. I'm always in the zone, either zoned out of zone. And then we could get it poppin'. Pick the topic if you want to. Skip and Shannon, skip and hoppin'. Took these sports and made them bounce. All right, undisputed.
Welcome to Undisputed. We're live from Los Angeles. I'm Joy Taylor here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
We
Thank
did.
you, Joy.
Hey, Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, you all on Instagram and all on social media posting
Feeling
everything.
good today, The
Yeah.
Dolphins are winning. Yeah,
Hey.
had a good Thanksgiving.
Hey, Skip.
I'm waiting for the trash talk across the table. Here, let's fist bump first.
Hold on, Skip.
I'm waiting because I'm not sure you have any trash to talk except the trash that your team's left behind that you picked wrongly over the weekend, right?
I was going to, I started to call you on Thursday. I said, no. I said, I'm not going to do Skip like that because he's very superstitious. I said, if I were to call him and then something were to happen, he would get all upset at me. So I'm going to let it slide. And here I am. I come on today and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be, I'm not going to be my normal braggadocious self. I'm just going to sit here and be humble and let Skip enjoy this day. But
what would you have to brag about? All your teams lost all weekend long. And you can call me anytime you want because you just jinxed yourself. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
I'll still go win. I'm going to bust you up as normal today.
We'll find out. We're starting it off with last night's big game in the AFC West. The Chiefs won 30-27 in overtime last night against the Broncos. The Chiefs kicked a game-winning field goal that bounced off the goalpost to win it. But the moment everyone is talking about is Gary Kubiak's decision to try a 62-yard field goal for the win with just over a minute left in overtime. Brandon McManus missed the field goal, giving the Chiefs great field position. Shannon, your Broncos are currently out of the playoffs. Do you have a problem with Kubiak's decision?
Let me first start by saying I've known Gary Kubiak for over 2 decades. He was my quarterback when I first arrived in Denver, and in training camp, he was mainly my quarterback because I didn't get a lot of reps with the starters, and so he would come in and he always made sure I knew what I had to do. He was like, if I caught a 20-yard pass, we got pizza money, and he was always telling me, "Come on, Greasy, let's go get some pizza money."
Wait, Greasy?
He called me Greasy because I was a big country guy.
Okay.
It's a long story. I explained it to y'all cameras.
Okay.
I absolutely 1,000% have a problem. I vehemently disagree with this decision. And I do it for this. Skip, I've told you a lot of times that a lot of what coaches do, yeah, they have numbers, they have analytics, and they have trends, and they got a coaching manual when you should go for 2 and when you should go for it on 4th down. But a lot of what they do is gut. And Gary should have listened to his gut. See, he made this decision based on what he had seen the previous 25, 30 ball games from his defense. Because what he needed to understand, he had a 28-19 lead with a little over 2 minutes to go, and Kansas City had the ball. And normally that would mean lights out for his defense. Alex Smith goes on a 13-play, 75-yard drive, not only to get the touchdown, but get the 2-point conversion to send the game into overtime. Then he goes on another 10-play drive for 46 yards to get the game-time field goal in overtime. So that in and of itself should have told him, my D doesn't have it tonight. I don't need to put them in harm's way. Because if they drive 75 yards for a game-time score, they drive 46 yards for a game-time field goal in overtime, what makes me think if we miss this field goal, we can stop them from getting 10 yards? Because all they needed, you gave them the ball, is basically at midfield. They get 10, 12 yards, they're in field goal range.
Yeah, a little more than that, but go ahead. 44.
Yeah. So all you need is 12. Let's just say for the sake of argument, you need 15 yards. Now you had just given up a 13-play and a 10-play drive to continuously tie the ball game up. The Broncos on the final 4th quarter drive, they had 3 penalties. That didn't help their cause. In overtime, after they take the lead, you get 12 men on the field. You give up a kick return for a touchdown.
Yep.
You also overload the side. You had too many men on the field goal that also took 3 off the board and allowed them to put 7. So that's 4 extra points.
Yep.
So all that being said, should have told you, so you know what? I want to win this game. But for me, Skip, I feel I take great comfort. Yes, I want to win the game, but I still take great comfort if I punt the football and have them lose the game. Because I think he wanted, like, okay, I'm not playing for a wild card spot. I'm playing for the division. I disagree with this decision, considering what he had seen from his defense over the last 10 minutes of this ball game. There's no way he should have attempted a 62-yard field goal from a guy whose career long is 57. He made that last year, opening week against the Baltimore Ravens, when the temperature was 88 degrees. So we know at altitude, the ball travels considerably farther when it's heat and that altitude. Now you're asking him to kick a 62-yarder when the temperature's in the mid-30s, which is 5 yards longer than he's ever made a kick. So I disagree with this decision. You punt the football, and if Kansas City wants to get cute and try to go down the field and get in field goal range, you let them have at it. But there's no way you kick this ball at the 48-yard line because the consequences are too grave.
So if you're Kubiak, you are punting for the tie. Am I clear on that? Is that what you're saying?
Hey, maybe Kansas City want to do something. Maybe Alex Smith want to try to get down the field and get in field goal range. Let them attempt it.
Okay, but you're playing not to lose the game. That's what you're saying.
Look, and I get it, Skip. I've said it many times before. Ties like kissing Halle Berry through a screen door. But in this situation, Skip, the risk is too great for the reward. Too great. There's no way you should have done this.
I must admit, I am shocked you're taking this stance. As a former Bronco, if you were a current Bronco, you would not be taking this stance.
I absolutely would.
You'd say, I would want my coach to play to win the game, to go for it, to give us a chance, our offense a chance, because your offense had been red hot all through the fourth quarter and overtime. In fact, this is incredible to me. Trevor Siemian had thrown for 231 yards in the fourth quarter and overtime. 200 for Trevor Siemian? Are you kidding me? So you got a hot hand, and I'm just shocked that Shannon Sharp, Hall of Fame tight end, would say, let's play not to lose. Let's hope not to lose, and maybe let's hope that they make a bad play, and maybe we'll steal a win. That's what you're saying.
But the ball wasn't in Trevor Siemian's hand. It was on the foot of Brandon McManus.
Okay, but that was my issue, and I tweeted about this, so this is not 2020 hindsight. I said it immediately. My issue wasn't with the decision of punt versus field goal. My issue was with punt versus go for it. Just put the ball back in Trevor Siemian's hands on 4th and 10 and let him throw it. I was rooting like crazy for Kansas City because I'm rooting for the Raiders to win the division, and I want your Broncos to fall and fail as the defending Super Bowl.
Because you don't want the Patriots to have to see them. I know why you do.
Okay, well that's exactly right. And the last thing I want is for Tom Brady to wind up back in Denver for the AFC Championship game somehow, some way, and I think that's about out the back door now. But my point is, rooting against the Broncos, I was afraid that Kubiak was going to go for it on 4th and 10 because I did not want to see Trevor Siemian dropping back or rolling out or scrambling because he had been virtually unstoppable by the Kansas City defense at that point. So I would have given it 60-40 for Trevor Siemian to convert at that point, and I gave it about 50-50 or maybe 40-60 against for Brandon McManus to make it from 62 yards. Now, I realize he has been making 65-yarders in practice, but you know this better than anybody. That is in the daytime, right?
Yep.
And the air is a little lighter because it's a little warmer.
Yep.
And it was getting colder by the snap into overtime last night in Denver. So I didn't think he could. I thought he might hit that 1 in 100 rocket, that just like some line drive that made it through. But he overcooked it. And he hit a little fat, to use a golf term, and he snap hooked it, and it didn't even have a prayer of going, it didn't even sniff the upright. It was just bad from the start. And I think it took a little life out of Denver at that point. But my point is, what if you punt to Alex Smith? And by the way, speaking of hot, Alex Smith, who had 72 yards passing going into the fourth quarter, had thrown for, let me find my number, 148. He'd thrown for 148 in the fourth quarter and overtime. So he was hot-handed, crazy hot, too, by his standards.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Okay?
He started to heat up.
Did we not see the coming out party of Tyreek Hill last night? Again, I knew about him from Oklahoma State. He had a domestic violence issue there and got kicked out of school, wound up at West Alabama. It was just a fifth-round choice, but he's explosive because he's a track guy.
Yes.
So are you sure you want to punt it to Tyreek Hill, even if he has to field it as 10 or wherever? You sure you want to go try to stop him?
Well, at that point, I'm going to take my chances because at worst case, look, you could always punt the ball out of the end zone. You could always do that and says, okay, now go 40 yards,
maybe,
and get in field goal range doing it that way. Skip, but
what if you don't?
Prior to that kick last night, over the last 5 seasons, kickers are 2-14 from 62 or plus yards. That's it. I mean, so if you factor that in over 5, so this is not over 1 game or 2 games or a season. We got 5 years of data. So it says out of 16 attempts over the last 5 years, only 2 kickers have been successful from this distance or greater.
Okay. So why don't you put the ball in your quarterback's hands? And even let's say he completes an 8-yard pass and comes up 2 yards short. That's 8 more yards that Alex Smith has to go the other way. So any progress forward would be anti-Kansas City's chances to go the other way, right? I was just shocked that he didn't say, Trevor's hot, I'm going to give the game ball, so to speak, to Trevor and let him see if he can convert 4th and 10. I saw quarterbacks convert. Russell Wilson converted 4th and 14 late in the Seattle game. It was like magic. Like, well, what are you doing? It's much more possible that would have been pulled off than 62 yards.
But I've always said this. I've always felt this. The sign of any great unit is, can you be great when you absolutely have to be? And for the very first time in about 30 games, the Broncos D, when they needed to be great, and they are a great defense, they weren't great. So Kubiak also needs to factor that in. That this is not now. If they're playing like they played in the Super Bowl or they played in the playoffs, absolutely, Skip. I got no problem with it because I know they're not going very far. But considering how they played, they allowed Alex Smith to go 75 yards in 13 plays. They allowed him to go 46 yards in 10 plays. That should have told you there, they don't have it tonight. Let me punt the ball, and if I have, like you said, Alex Smith had gotten hot. Maybe Andy Reid allows him to put the ball in harm's way, and you get something fluky like that. But you don't have to win the game, but don't put us in a position where we lose the game.
So Shannon Sharp has been reduced to playing not to lose with his Denver Broncos, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am shocked by that. And by the way, as Joy correctly pointed out, the Broncos currently are no longer in the playoffs. Her Miami Dolphins are in the playoffs after 6 in a row.
Hold on. Time out.
Well,
who's the quarterback?
Huh?
Who's the quarterback?
I don't like him, but he's still I don't know how he does it.
Okay.
You know what? They run it. They play defense. I don't know what they're doing.
All it takes is a little bit of magic.
He's still Ryan Tannehill.
He is.
And we already know how this story is going to end.
Yep.
Can I just have my moment?
Okay. My bad.
It is a moment. Bottom line. Denver Broncos got Talib back last night. They got Derek Wolfe back last night. It was the defense's game to win or lose, and they couldn't stop Alex Smith from winning the game. That is shocking to me, and that is a bad late season sign for your Broncos.
And even more, thank you for validating my case now. Because even though Talib came back, even though Wolf came back, they couldn't stop Alex Smith. So why would you then attempt to kick a 60? Thank you very much, Joy.
I'm going for the win, man.
I understand, and it is just my moment. You don't have to give me a hard time, all right? We all know it's going to pass.
It will be fleeting.
Just let me live in this moment.
Okay.
The Chiefs and Broncos are both looking up at 9-2 at the 9-2 Raiders in the AFC West. The Raiders have won 5 straight for the first time since 2002 after beating the Panthers 35-32 yesterday. Derek Carr left with an injured right finger in the third quarter, but came back after missing a series and threw the go-ahead touchdown for the win. Skip, you've liked the Raiders all season.
I have.
How impressed were you by them yesterday?
I'm loving them more by the Sunday. I was extremely impressed. I'm going to say it one more time. The Oakland Raiders are going to win the AFC West. The Oakland Raiders are going to wind up in Foxborough in the AFC Championship game. I will not love their chances in Foxborough, but I will give them a chance versus Tom Brady and company.